Now that we've worked through some sample sentences, let's take on some paragraphs and look for the comma errors. And so, we'll look at the very first one they did for us. We have this conjunction, and it's used to separate items in a list. First item, second item, and then the third item right here. And so we always use that comma before the conjunction that precedes the last item in a series. That is sometimes known as the Oxford comma, and we always want to use it. All right, the next comma error you found, well, if it's right between these two words, you made a great choice. And the reason is because everything up through games, dependent clause. Everything forward, independent clause. And we always use commas to separate two clauses that are different types, never two clauses of the same type. The next comma error you may have found could be that one, and it should be that one, because we have two descriptive words, serious, dark, before the noun work. So we would always need to separate two descriptive words like that come before a noun by using a comma. In the very next sentence, that's where we have our next comma error, because everything before the conjunction, the dystopian novel takes risks, complete sentence. Teenagers like risks, complete sentence. So that tells us to put the comma in before the conjunction. They're short sentences, but they are complete sentences. For our next comma error, we have to go to the next paragraph. Anytime you have the word which in the middle of a sentence, it's almost invariably going to need a comma. And in the same sentence, we have this. So everything up to perfection is a complete sentence. What follows is a dependent clause. So we would have to separate those with commas. Again, the two different clause types, we always separate them with commas. All right, the next comma error you may have found could be here, and it should be there. And so here we have commas that are used to separate items in a list, which is fine, but we don't put that first comma before the items in the list like we have here after the word by. We start using the commas after each item in the series or in the list. So that's why the comma after the word by is incorrect. All right, here's your next comma error. And so the reason that is incorrect, what you could do is click on the handout for subordinate conjunctions, and you'll see a link for extended rules for using commas, and that will take you out to a spot where you can look at a handout on OWL that deals with that clauses. But suffice to say for now that most of the time when you have a clause that begins with that, it's probably not going to take a comma before it. All right. Here we have another comma error. And the reason for that is what follows the conjunction and, just these two words, restore harmony, that's not an independent clause. So that tells us to leave the comma out before the conjunction. All right, here is our next comma error. While the violence may disturb parents, and that's a dependent clause, and what follows is an independent clause. So once again, we're seeing that we use commas to separate the two different clause types. We never use them to separate two clauses of the same type. I hope everyone found this helpful. Thank you.